IVM.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
This is Storytellers and Story Sellers live on tape. You're listening to Vineet Kanabar on the IVM Podcast Network. We're bang in the middle of podcast month on this podcast. That's strange to say. I'm sure it's even stranger to hear. But it is what it is. We are in the middle of podcast month on Storytellers and Story Sellers. Last couple of episodes, you must check out Nikesh Murali talking about putting Indian horror on the world map with Indian noir, and Keshav Chaturvedi with a wonderful conversation about his podcast, Tede Mede Raste, and his journey from being a travel photographer to a travel podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk to someone who's not just a podcaster, but also a full-fledged media empire owner. She's someone who started Kidsstoppress in 2013. And from then on, Kidsstoppress has gone on to be a full-fledged website for content for parents. She's got a YouTube channel. She's done a bunch of podcast appearances. She's done exclusive podcasts with a platform I cannot name for contractual reasons. And she's going to talk to us about what it's like to be creating so much parenting content in 2021 in unprecedented lockdown times. Please say hello to Mansi Zaveri.
Thank you. You put the pressure on. Itna lamba introduction. I'm like already fretting. So thank you. Thank you for such an amazing welcome.
And we're so glad to have you here. Don't worry, the welcome is just the easy part. Everything is what will come right after.
It's like the time before the slaughter, right?
Wow. It's not. I'm sure it's not going to be that bad, Mansi. Yeah. Trust me, it'll be all right. Right. I will come back to talk to Mansi and not discuss slaughtering anymore right after these messages.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into a show about crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM Podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
And we're back. We're talking to Mansi Zaveri about parenting content. Mansi, right off the bat, let me ask you this, and let me set this up for you as well. You became a mom in 2008. I remember 2008 as the time when the internet was really happening very slowly in India, right? I was back in Nagpur at that time, and Orkut used to be big. This was way back when, right? People still had Yahoo Messenger, I think. What was the state of mind that you were in, right? When you just became a parent then, I mean, if I paint you a picture, was it the more traditional, I'm getting advice from everywhere and don't know what to do? Or were you like one of those, okay, now I've done this, I'm going to be a mom and I know my shit. What was that like at that time?
You know, honestly, it was a very, very exciting time. One, because I was going to be a parent, and a strange time because that was the year that the markets crashed, right? That was the Lehman crash that had happened. My husband was still studying and I had to continue working because he was, we were on a student loan and stuff, and the crash happened.
Right.
And, good old days, we used to get 3 months maternity leave. Even that was shortened to 15 days because I had to resume pretty much.
Wait, what? You had 15 days maternity leave?
I mean, not even 15. I resumed pretty much the next week. I mean, I was working from home, but pretty much the next week because, my company downsized and I was the head of marketing for French Connection UK. It was an international brand, and we downsized from 300 people. 300 people we downsized to just about 75 people, and I was one of them. So I was just very fortunate that I had a job. And then I was parenting, and I was like, okay, now I am sandwiched between my mom telling me what to do and the internet telling me what to do, right? So I think the the early millennials, as we call ourselves, we are the sandwich generation where we're so deeply rooted in the Indian way of being and raising and growing up. But at the same time, we're being pulled by a lot of what we are and what we're experiencing around us. And we still don't want to let go of our roots. So I think I was exactly in that same turmoil. And that's when I said there has to be a way of, kind of figuring how to do this and things like that. So honestly, Vineet, I didn't give myself any choice. I knew I had to retain that job. I knew I had to parent. I knew I had to get back to work. And Facebook was really, really picking up. So for me, I was just very, very lucky that I was heading digital and creating digital for an international brand in India, which meant I was learning digital even before digital was big. So I was just blessed.
Wonderful. I think that's more and more I speak to people who are doing cool things now. It feels like there is a serendipitous coming together of so many things that you learned in different places, and then you find that one thing that you really, really, that's your calling. And I feel like you've got a story that's like that as well. Would that be right to say it like that?
Absolutely, 100%. It just feels, and I think you used the word well, which is serendipitous, because everything, like if I think of any career point or career milestone that I've had, I'm so glad I had it, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be the product I am today.
Right.
All the stories that I've shared, even while at Kidsstoppress, have led me to be the person I am today, be the founder that I am today, be the mother that I am today. So absolutely, bang on.
Love it. Now let me ask you about the genesis of Kidsstoppress, right? To me, it feels like you'd experienced the need yourself, right? This was still early days of the internet. Facebook show was growing, YouTube was growing, but content for parenting was still very disparate, right? It was all over the place. It was
Absolutely.
Pretty much a similar representation of what you were seeing around you, right? Kabhi auntie bolti hai, kabhi saas bolti hai, kabhi badi behan, choti behan, etc., neighbor, whatever. Internet mein वैसा ही था. Yahoo Answers might have something for you, or some Orkut group might have something for you, and there's no authority on it, right? And this is before the days of any of these websites really came up and really happened to mothers in India, right? I feel like you experienced that need, but what was the spark that made you go from salaried professional to entrepreneur?
So, I truly believe that life gives you a couple of whispers before the sound becomes very loud in your head, right? I had 2 or 3 of those whispers. Like you rightly said, there was so much of information coming from scattered sources. So I think that was one. There was no authority. That was an opportunity. One was that I was traveling from Metro. If somebody is familiar with Bombay, they'll know, from Metro to Worli. And this was the good old BlackBerry days in 2012. I would not even look up even once between that drive, because I was constantly on my phone, typing, finishing work as a new mom, multitasking, overcompensating that, I need to prove a point that I'm extremely efficient and blah, blah, blah. And I would not even look up once. And that's the time it struck me. If I am spending about 60% of my waking up time on front of a digital device, why is no one communicating to me in that fashion? That was one whisper. The second one was when I traveled with my 2.5-year-old back then, which was roughly around 2011, 2012, to the US all alone with just my sister and me and my daughter. And we went backpacking from one city to another, not knowing what we're going to do in the next city. And I was like, if I can do this in the US, which doesn't have good public transport, or, is quite not, well connected from a tourist perspective, right, then how can I go back to India and do the same? That was the second whisper. And the third was, just like you said, one was the information was scattered. And the third was, I was a full-time working mom. I had no access to information that was being shared outside play schools or school classes or whatever else, right? I wanted that information on that digital device, and I wasn't getting it. So I was like, how do I see this opportunity? I saw the opportunity, and the day I finished all my debt, which was my housing loan, student loan, all of it, I quit and I started Kidsstoppress with all of 10,000 rupees.
Really?
I designed my own logo also, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And set up WordPress and all of that.
That's one of those things that you get by doing, right? I mean, being a digital marketer in the late 2000s, early 2010s, it's one of those things that you really learn by doing. When you started this, right? And again, like I said, I want to build up to where you are today. When you started this, what was the initial response like, right? I mean, head of marketing at a multinational, and career-driven, ambitious woman, also a mom, also a multitasker, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to start something. What is the reaction with A, from people around you, and B, from the people you were trying to reach out to?
So honestly, my parents and I am one of 4 daughters. And, I come from a business family, and my parents were like, everybody, all my sisters, everybody's like double postgrad. And so was I. And my parents was like, my mom was like, do you really need to do it? You have a cushy job. And why do you want to leave this? Friends and, everybody else was like, listen, retail lifestyle really booming. Why do you want to quit? There's so many international players coming in the segment. You already have the experience. My husband was like, go for it. My in-laws were like, just go for it. I think sometimes, Vineet, what happens is when you find that one thing that's consuming you day and night, then all the other noises around you seem to just blur themselves out, right? Because you can only see what you want to create. I think that is the entrepreneur mindset, right?
Tunnel vision.
So, yeah, absolutely. You just that drive has to be phenomenal. And like I said, I just had enough faith in what I was doing, and that was important. And of course, the close circle that mattered around me. My dad was very, very optimistic. He's like, go for it. And, I think the Gujarati blood in us, which is very entrepreneurial kind of, made my dad really proud that I was creating something on my own. But to answer your question, it's, like I said, what everybody else says doesn't matter. When you found what you want to do, you just go the whole hog and convert that into a reality.
I love it. I think that conviction is so much of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And all the best ones that I've spoken to.
Yeah, but
point to exactly
I
that
must,
thing.
Sorry to interrupt, but I must add that, because I was a woman creating something, I took the extra effort of making sure that I wasn't creating a hobby or a side hustle.
Right.
Which is so important when you start, especially if you're a woman. And yes, we're in the 21st century. Yes, we're saying that women are this and women are great creators, and everywhere we've planted ourselves on every front. But it's very important that you tell yourself that this is not a side hustle. This is not a hobby business. I'm not doing this for anything else, but it's got to monetize. It's got to value in any form. That value for my time has to be worth it, right? So I think for anybody who's starting out, just keep that that very, very well etched on your vision board.
No, I was my follow-up was going to be about exactly this, right? And I'm just trying to I can't put myself in your shoes, but at least put my mindset in your shoes. Like, you've got a 5-year-old daughter, you've got cushy career that you've spent, maybe 10 years working towards. But then there's this voice in your head, and there is the strength of your convictions and the courage of your convictions, and then there is the world around you.
Yeah.
Right. And then there are people saying, why do you need to do this? And those are all questions you need to answer.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you say, hey, it doesn't matter what the others say, I think it can only stop mattering what the others say once you yourself have the answers to those questions, right? Why do I need to do this? Because this is what I believe in. It may not turn a profit in 2 years, but 8 years down the line, it might come back to me in value, in multiples, in ways that I can't even imagine. And I feel like that courage comes from having answers to those questions for yourself. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The good part about starting early is also that you're so, you're not worried about success or failure, right? And you're not thinking so hard. And this is one thing my dad told me, when I was starting out, or I had this germ in my head and I was sharing this idea with him. He said, just remember one thing, which is, and I'll say it in Hindi because that's how he said it. He said, "Sabse bada rog hai kya kahenge log," right? Just get that for anybody who doesn't know it. Don't worry about what people will think. That's the biggest disease that people can have, right?
Right.
That's the biggest sickness that you can have. It's like the minute you stop worrying about what people are thinking and start worrying about what you think of yourself, you will solve half of life's problems. And honestly, like I said, this was a couple of years ago and it still resonates every single day. When I'm questioning, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Or whatever. But you're absolutely right that you just start with a vision to create. I think success and failure, because we started young, doesn't matter too much. But just know what you want to create and what's your path thereafter, right? And also what's the big picture? Because I think sometimes you get so disillusioned immediately. I could have easily, to give you an example, I could have easily said, oh, I'll just run a website. I'll put up a blog. Why do I need to create a media network, which is catering to parents and reaching over 20 million of them every single month? And why podcast and why YouTube? And, why create the whole shebang?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start off, paint the blue sky, right? Get your blue sky scenario, because that is important. Otherwise, you'll reach a milestone and you'll get stuck. You won't know where to go next.
Right. Wonderful. I love it. Let me move on from the entrepreneur side of this to the parenting side of this, right?
Yeah.
Because while entrepreneurship porn is awesome, I really have like so many questions about parenting and the stuff that you do, right? Let me start with asking you, who were you creating for when you started, and how has that evolved as time has gone on?
It's so, it sounds so spooky that you say that, because I constantly think, who am I creating this for, right? And as we're revamping and, reworking on a lot of things, we're answering this question as we speak. But honestly, Vineet, I created it for the parent, or for parents who are like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean from a socio-economic standpoint, but for parents who are educated, discerning, want to give the best to their child. Because the underlying thought of any parent is, whether he's a rickshaw driver or he can be from the Ambani family, is, I want to give the best to my child.
Right.
That's what that one hope is everything a parent has, right? And that best is subjective, but that's the underlying focus for the parent. So I say I'm catering for that parent who's involved, educated, strives every single day to provide the best for their child. And just strangely, just today on my Instagram, I posted that about an interview that I had done 2 years ago when we launched in Indore. And I say the same thing today. There's nothing that has changed. We're still catering to that same audience, that same parent, maybe in different languages, in different geographies, but the customer focus has been laser sharp. And to say that this is a progressive parent who's constantly striving to better themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say this at Kidsstoppress, that you are the best parent your child can ever have.
Right.
So I don't believe that I am the best. I'm always work in progress. But the endeavor is to strive to be better.
Right. It's a very amorphous thing, right, though, to be a better parent, right? I mean, if you have great parents, you're fortunate enough. Like I say, I'm very fortunate to have wonderful parents, right? But that's not true for all kids, right? Most parents often go overboard in their effort to be the best parent, right? What have you seen over the past few years in creating this, in terms of sort of mindset shifts, interesting changes in pedagogy of parenting, maybe that really sticks out to you, right? And again, let me couch this in the observation that 2013 for that matter is just the genesis, like the first 5 years of the internet truly arriving in India. Whereas now in 2021, I'm 34 and I have friends who are becoming parents in 2021. It's a completely different world. Right from what's acceptable for parents. I have gotten slapped अपने मन से, मतलब आपने कुछ गड़बड़ की, if it is egregious enough to deserve a whack, you will get a whack, right? That's looked down upon now, right? So corporal punishment cannot be. I'm just talking about that as an example, but through my long-winded question, what I want to really ask you is, what are some of the shifts that really catch your eye?
So one is, and which has always been our endeavor at Kidsstoppress, is to simplify parenting. Because what happens is the parent, one, he's starved for time.
Right.
Second is, there is always a paradox of choice. What complicates life is you're inundated with choices, right?
Right.
What has happened in 2021, you have more resources to follow than time to consume.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're like, think of us, right? We're both in the media space. We cannot consume the own content that we're sometimes creating because there is just so much to consume.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, this parent is time starved. How can I ensure that he is being provided a chiseled, focused piece that's actually applicable to him? So that is one. What I would say has shifted is most definitely the choices, is resources to provide. Massive shift in resources. Also, trying to overcompensate with products and services than time.
Right.
Which I thought is a little bit of a bummer because we're somewhere losing the essence of being a parent, because today a large part of it is very outward facing than back in the time when I started and when I was a parent. I'm still a parent, but when I was a parent of a really young child or an infant. So I feel a lot of it is a lot of, out there. There's very little privacy in many forms than other. So I feel those are a few of the shifts. I also feel the concerns. Let me also say from a contextual perspective, when back in the day, I didn't have infertility as a segment altogether on Kidsstoppress. Today I do.
Right.
I didn't have tween and young adult as a segment. Today I do. I didn't have mental health as a segment. Today I do. I didn't have digital and online and security of children and cyberbullying as a segment. Today I do. I didn't have apps for kids that could teach you, edtech, such a big segment altogether,
Absolutely.
right? We didn't have that back in the day, but today it's ingrained in the way we're travel for most definitely, child-friendly destinations. Like you're seeing absolute cities being developed or resorts or opportunities being developed especially for children.
Right.
So I think that is a huge shift as people are rising the rungs in terms of their ability to spend as well.
Right. I love it. I think you gave us a very balanced sense of that, right? While there are definite challenges that still exist, while the whole situation has become almost too complex to even visualize clearly, right? There are definite upsides, or there's definite increase in awareness for parents about issues that are important, definitely, to their children, right? For example, a child's mental health is much more of a conversation today. Bullying, for example, is much more of a conversation today than it has ever been before. And I'm glad that you're serving that need as well. It shows that you're building a brand that's also moving with time, that's not sort of caught in a moment, serving one need that was prevalent at maybe 10 years ago and not anymore. On that note, though, I'm going to go in for a quick break and we'll come back and talk more about podcasting and the content that you're creating around parenting and your process. Back after these messages, we're talking to Mansi Zaveri on Storytellers and Storysellers.
Hey, everybody, it's been a great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On the season finale of Getting Meta, Chuck speaks to social service activist Srini Swaminathan about how he completed 28 cycling marathons despite having asthma. On Candid Kanan, ex-Big Boss contestant Ali Goni opens up to Siddharth about his relationship with Jasmine and how it was received at home. On Shunyuvan, Shiliditya and myself speak to Kirti Jangra, co-founder and COO of Animal Technologies, about the journey of this cattle trading platform. Yeah, it's a cattle trading platform. Really interesting. Do check it out. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth tells us about the design interface lessons we are learning from Zoom. And on Hansvani, listen to a beautiful ghazal titled Ghar Badal. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of the shows on the IVM network for that matter, please do tell a friend. We really appreciate that. And finally, I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Siet Cred, Banco Baroda, Quarter, and CoinSwitch Kuber. We really do appreciate the support.
We're back on Storytellers and Storysellers. We're talking to Mansi Zaveri about Kidsstoppress and parenting. Before the break, Mansi was talking to us about how things have changed or remained the same over the past 8 years that she's been running the company. She told us about the features and the content that was not part of the bouquet maybe 8 years ago, but is certainly part of what they put out now. Let me ask you this, Mansi. What I've realized and I'm sure this is in some way at least congruent with your experience as a marketer as well, is that while the digital world is great and you can always, look at Twitter or Instagram or wherever and see and find insights and new things that are coming through, the truest measure of a consumer is when you're talking to the consumer.
Yeah.
Right. Help us understand how you've balanced a digital with a physical brand as well, right? Do you have local presences? Do you have sort of chapters or groups? How do you manage a sort of real world connect with the parents that you're engaging with online?
Right. So, as part of the network, of course, we have local ambassadors in each of the city. Mm-hmm. We also have social media ambassadors who constantly who've propagated or spoken about. Just to give you perspective, we build a lot of habit forming content. So in the morning, every morning at 9 a.m. on the Kidsstoppress Instagram page, you will see a funny humor quote go up. And it crosses over 3,000 or 4,000 shares every single day.
Right.
And for me, the biggest piece has been sometimes I get my own content back as WhatsApp messages, or, part of what pieces we've written back as forwards. And then me and my team have a really good laugh saying, Acha, this really worked. Though the numbers may be, smaller in the virality space of things today, because we're also talking to a very, very niche audience in that space, right? So it's not like Rajma Chawal that appeals to everybody, right? But it's very specific sort of content. So therefore it works. And it's very important to have local ambassadors or chapter ambassadors in every single city, because they may not be social media savvy, but they're socially very relevant to our space. And, they constantly feed us with insights. Also community, our engagement on our social platforms or on YouTube or on Instagram, Facebook is so high, and especially our newsletters. So we send our newsletters every single day and we get open rates of over 25%, which is unheard of in the industry. That's because people are constantly engaging with us as a community. When we work with brands, they say that, when we're working with different platforms in the parenting space, we can appoint different reach platforms. But for a conversion play, it's very, very dominantly Kidsstoppress, because what we put out, Vineet, is because of the stamp and the authority and the brand that you built over time, the consumer will play or chime the same tune because they have very, very high trust.
Right.
Right. And I think that has played a very, very critical role in building the community, the growth, and, literally like a fortress around the palace, right?
Right.
Because that fortress really makes the position of that palace very, very strong.
How would you say you've gone about accruing this trust, right? What if I were to say, give me maybe a 3-step or a 5-step playbook to do this, right? And I'm asking you this not just from a parenting perspective, because we live in a world today where everyone or everything is a brand, right? If you curate it the right way, you spend enough thought and time behind it, you're adding value to other people's lives, and that comes back as value to your own personal brand in that sense, right? And the best brands built like that have a sheen of trust, credibility, authority, approachability, all of these words that go into decks that all of us have made in life, right? Like I said, if I were to ask you to break it down into like a 3-step or a 5-step, what would you say are things that you did absolutely right that have helped you build this trust and credibility?
No, I'm actually thinking along as you were saying, and
I'm glad. I'm glad, especially when I'm talking to people who do lots of like public speaking. If I get them to think, I feel like I've asked them a question that they weren't asked before.
I totally am, and I must applaud you for the questions, because they're really keeping me on my toes. But a couple of things that really stand out. One is consistency. We played the same tune consistently for the last 8 years, right? So the user has faith that, listen, they've been in the business, they know their business. Second is to call out a sheep from any other when it's time to say that this is a sheep and this is a dog or whatever. And we've done that. So example, if I have disagreed or, our reviews, which is so respected, is if we've said that, listen, this product is not great, it really sticks to your teeth, and I don't think it's credible, it's not a good product for your child. It's not a good product. And I've said that, and I've had brands come back to me and say, hey, but you know what, we can work on a long-term promotion, we can work on a long-term brand. Can you just change this one line in your review or whatever? And I said, no, because at the end of the day, I need to realize that I'm dealing with children, I'm dealing with pregnant women. And if I can't do them any good, I better not do any harm. Right? So I think staying true to that value. And sometimes, as a creator, I tell my team that it doesn't matter how much time you've spent on creating that piece, but if it's really not valuable for that parent who's just got 2 minutes to spare and is quickly browsing through, or you're not value adding, then don't put it out there. If the parent cannot say, share, engage with, you've not hit that metrics with the parent, or it doesn't strike a chord somewhere.
Right.
It's probably not worth it, right? So I think all of these together have kind of, and also saying that listen, we're not perfect. We're just trying to get it right every single day, right? And I always tell people, I'm no parenting expert. I'm a sum of all the stories that I have shared in the last 8 years. And anybody who says that they're a parenting expert and has got everything right, I mean, be wary, because it's a hard one to get right?
Yeah.
Har din it's a trial and error process.
Right.
So I would say all of those things have really, really helped us in our process of getting it right. And when we've messed up, we say, listen, I messed up on this and I'm sorry, right? So I think all of those things cumulatively have, and these affirmations come back to you when, we posted something and, and people on social media or on the website or everybody will come back and say, hey, I would have not expected this from Kidsstoppress, right? Or guys, this cannot be you or whatever. That means that brand is so well etched in your consumer's mind that they know that this is you and this is not you. Right. And similarly for my clients, I may not be doing all of what they want to talk about, but for some part of it, they're like, this is totally down Kidsstoppress's alley, right? So even your brand is so well etched in both your internal and external stakeholders.
I love it. I love the humility with which you said, we messed up. Can you give us an example? Because I feel like, especially now in this sort of post-influencer age that we live in, where opinions are a dime a dozen, you have no accountability, almost no accountability, right?
Yeah.
People can come out and say whatever the hell they want. They can go and do whatever else, right? Joe Rogan can come out and talk about anti-vaxxers and then taking ivermectin for some reason and nobody's going to do anything about it. Give us an example about when you messed up and you're like, hey, no, we messed up. We're going to stand up, take accountability.
So earlier, I think it was about 2 years ago when, I did this, and it wasn't a paid campaign or anything. And you're absolutely right. I've been searching for a honest review on a hair product and to do my own, this thing. I haven't been able to find one unbiased review on that product. And I'm like, damn, how difficult can it be, right? Because everybody seems to be only talking good. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't help in the decision-making process. So you're absolutely right. There is very little credibility. Anything that you post, share is always looked at, acha, ye to influencer hai. Acha, ye log ko to kuch paid campaign hoga, ya, whatever. But to say to this that, we did a campaign for Breastfeeding Week 2 years ago. And I'm extremely passionate about some causes, and though it was a public service campaign that we were doing, I may be being a little passionate about the breastfeeding cause and knowing the other side, where I know a whole bunch of women don't want to do it because it's not convenient, or formula brands actually going the whole hog to make convenience and nutrition become a big part of it, that it lures a lot of women to kind of go the other way.
Right.
I actually said something very passionately that this is important and this is what you've got to do and whatever. But little did I not think that, listen, there are women who genuinely could not do it, and they were offended. So I did offend them. And I said, listen, I'm sorry. I would have not want to offend you, but yes, when there is a choice, you make that choice. But when there's no choice, of course, you go for the obvious, right?
Right.
You go for the only solution. So yes, I did accidentally offend, and that's okay. The other one happened, when I think the Pride Month was going on, and or it was Father's Day, I don't know, one of the two. And I said, or Mother's Day, I don't remember. And I said something to the extent that, go ask your dad or go ask your mom or something like that. And somebody from the LGBTQ community said that, how about, moms ask moms or dads ask dads, right? So basically, if you are having same-sex couples, then what's the solution? So can you change your language? And I said, absolutely. I'm sorry for being insensitive. Point taken, and we've sensitized that.
Right.
We're like, yes, we need to evolve and change with times.
That's awesome, man. I think it's so important for creators to have that open channel of feedback, right? And it keeps you honest, keeps you humble as well, right? And I think that's the only way to learn and grow. Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to ask you about your podcasting journey, because this is Podcast Month. You created a podcast called Raising Parents.
Yeah.
It was a Geo Savan exclusive at that time,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
What was that process like? I mean, I know you had a YouTube channel before that, I think, already, right? And a thriving Facebook community and Instagram as well. What prompted you to get into podcasts? What was that experience like?
Yeah. So I'm an avid listener of podcasts. I possibly listen to 2 a day. I would love to listen to more. I also listen to a lot of audiobooks, especially during the pandemic. Audiobooks were my lifesaver while I was doing the vessels and the jhadu and all of that. So did podcasts, right? But to give you perspective, I started, I've been listening to podcasts since again 2017, 2018. And 2018, I always pick an office place that's very close to work that I can walk to work.
Right.
And I was walking, and while I was listening, I was like, boss, this is going to be it, right? Because, it's so, auditory skills are so underutilized. And what people don't realize is, when you're listening, you have to take far, and I don't know, Vineet, you can counter me on this, but I feel your senses of attention are so heightened that I'm only focusing on what I'm listening.
Absolutely.
Versus when I'm seeing, I could be mentally thinking about something else, or, I could be switched off and already transported to another land. But I don't know, my senses were very, very heightened when I was listening. The second whisper again was when I was dropping my daughter to the school bus stop, and she said, Mama, why are all school buses yellow? And I said, dude, I have no answer. I'll Google it and get back to you. And I was like, yaar, har cheez ke liye I need to go back to Google. I mean, there has to be a solution. Itne brevity mein, you have to explain to your child why a school bus is yellow. Or all about dinosaurs. Dude, I researched for like 4 days to tell her all about the dinosaurs and which came first, second, third, and all that. And I was like, this is damn time consuming, right? So I said, boom, podcast, right? And we actually started with the kids podcast first, where we just said, let's just do bite-sized information for children, explaining them a concept in just 2.5 minutes, because that's the child's attention span. If it can be lesser, even better. So we started with the kids channel, which is called I'm Not Bored, and is on Apple and Spotify and all other players. And soon after, in 2019, I realized that, or 2018, early 2018, that, I'm anyways creating so much content because we were doing, we have a whole bunch of, because of the network, we have access to lots of celebrities, which nobody else does. We have access to so many experts, educators, all of that. I'm like, if that's going on Facebook and YouTube, why is it not going on the podcast? So I honestly invested in the podcast space without thinking of when will this bring revenues, or whatever else that there was. I just said that this is a space that needs to be utilized. And in 2017, we launched Kids. 2018, we launched the adult podcast. 2019, I was approached by Savan to start a commissioned podcast. And I was like, wow, this sounds great. And all through the pandemic, I mean, I launched it in May. We were supposed to start. We recorded a few episodes in March. And then, I was like, and then the lockdown. And then I was like, shit, is this going to just end here? But I was like, no, we've got to pull this through. And I did all of the balance episodes through the pandemic. And we won the E4M Play Awards, right? We got the gold in that one. So clearly the pandemic work really, really helped.
That's such an amazing journey. And I mean, it culminating in a commissioned podcast, culminating in the awards that you've won, as well as the value that you've provided.
Yeah.
Do we follow this up with asking you, what is the difference between users who come to you for web content or YouTube content and folks who are listening to you on the podcast? Is there a discernible difference in the audience? I mean, do you program differently? How did you approach it?
So I would say that, and this is a constant, right? And we're only growing. We're starting with a season 2. We now have 2 commissioned, I don't know what they're called.
Shows?
Episodes, right? Like episodes that are going to be commissioned. And we've landed a lot of luck with monetizing our shows now. So I would say that create for your consumer, edit by medium. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Because the consumer across the spectrum is going to be the same, right? Unless you're creating in a completely different language. So if I am doing a Hindi show, or any other regional language show, I will create for that audience unless that audience is, of a different socioeconomic class or consumption pattern or like language preference, right? Again, when I was creating for Savan, which is largely Bollywood driven, Bollywood celebrities help. So if I am featuring a really different non-Bollywood person, I would say that is this right for the platform or not? But look, let the larger umbrella be your audience. Filter by the platform and filter the edit by the medium as well. So a lot of the content also goes back onto our YouTube channel, but we will curate that for the YouTube audience. Like YouTube is not, for us at least, long form hasn't worked very well on YouTube.
Right.
A lot of shorter forms or a max of about 10 minutes typically works better for us. So we create or edit that for that platform. But also understand that when you're building for a podcast, it's a very close-knit community.
Right.
They come to you for that, that experience of just a coffee chat with Vineet, or, that unfiltered experience with, okay, usme, there's banter also. And then, there is a very,
it's authentic. It's very authentic.
It's authentic, right? Yeah. I feel there's very few filters, and I also feel like the way the person expresses themselves or himself, it literally brings the picture alive, right?
Absolutely.
Like think of the good old days when we were listening to radio. I mean, I still do, but you're associating an image with a voice, right, and the voice comes first.
Right.
Right. So it's pretty much like that. So I would say that
it's the only place where sound travels faster than light.
Absolutely.
Right. I love it. I mean, I love the way you put it, right? Create for your consumer, but edit by the medium. I think it's the simplest way that algorithm has been put. Thank you for that. Let me bring this around to the end. But before we take you to the final segment, which is called Water with Vineet, let me ask you about the fundraising part of running this business, right? Like you raised around in 2016. You've obviously grown by leaps and bounds ever since. What's the secret to making sure your investors are happy, and what's in the future for you now?
So one is, in our business, it's very important to, especially for media and content companies, to understand, and I'm reading this amazing book, which is called If There's One Thing I Could Tell You, is that, you're either creating for, you would be lying to yourself if you're saying that you're only creating for the fame of it, right? It has to materialize into monetary gains to keep you motivated.
Absolutely.
Right. And I would say that for me, that was a very important part, right? Because earlier, and I must tell you this, when I was fundraising, a lot of people said earlier on, oh, it's a lifestyle business. It's a lifestyle business. And for mere dimag mein, kahin at the back, it was always there when I started, that just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I'm raising a lifestyle business, right? And then, of course, in my favor, because parenting is largely, until date, there is the primary parent still is the mother. Right. It worked in my favor that only a woman could run a parenting platform. So that kind of worked in my favor. So the funding was fairly easy. But what happened after, it gave us that huge springboard to launch a whole multitude of properties and create that network effect we want. Right. So today, of course, we have all social and digital assets. We also have an influencer network for all parenting and, mom, dad, bloggers, influencers that there are there. We do a whole lot of digital strategy for brands coming and pouring into India. We do a lot of celebrity management for a whole bunch of parenting celebrities, if I may use the term. So it just gave us that springboard into doing a lot of the things. But a content play and very, very, and you'll see this in a lot of women-founded businesses, we have our eyes on the bottom line very sharply.
Right.
So that's why the need to raise around desperately or have anything like that was never in a situation that I needed to reach out. But of course, now the time's ripe and raw, and we want to springboard to the next level. We want to get into a whole bunch of other avenues that we are exploring, and like I said, we're revamping our whole offering and product right now. So come Diwali, it'll be a whole new version of the platform. And I think content today has so much to offer, right? Whether you have subscriptions or you have unique content or you have newsletters. Back in the day, Vineet, and you'll agree because you're a creator, 2018, 2019, if somebody told you that, do you consume more? You didn't have as high regard for creators as you do today.
Absolutely.
You'll actually wait for a newsletter from a creator, or you'll subscribe. earlier we used to give our email IDs only to West Side and lifestyle stores, right? कि कोई offer आएगा, कुछ sale आएगा, तो हम, I mean, I don't know. That used to happen to me, and I used to, but today you wait for your favorite creator to actually email you and see what value that he or she is providing, right?
For sure.
So I think that's been a big game changer. So the external atmosphere with a whole bunch of ability to monetize is going to be a big change maker for the creators today and for media houses.
I love it. You talked about another springboard. If without going into too much detail, because I'm sure a lot of it is WIP and still being built. What got you excited about this next shift?
So I think one is what technology can do.
Mm-hmm.
Second is the opportunities. Vineet, I mean, today I was so excited about starting a podcast in 2017. And today I'm struggling to record for 4 separate shows in 2021.
Right.
Like there is only that much bandwidth that you can have, right? So that is so exciting, right? It is about partnership alliances, collaborations, and doing meaningful work, right? I mean, we're working with this and working with brands who exclusively want to work with you, right? So when Lego launched in the country last year, they were very clear that this is the platform that they want to launch with.
Right.
This is the platform that will bring Lego into the country. So I think it was very, very exciting because the kind of work that we're doing, or even doing a lot of research for a lot of brands who want to foray into India. So research was something that we didn't explore in the network, but that's again come by in such a big way for us that literally that the opportunities and for any entrepreneur, I think the biggest constraint is only having 24 hours in a day. And yeah.
That brings us to the final segment on this show. It's called Water with Vineet. It's obviously completely original. You've never heard similar sounding segment anywhere else, right? Of course, you agree with that, right? I'm joking. I'm going to ask you short, snappy questions, which is a departure from my general style. And you have to give me quick, snappy answers, right? Let's get started.
I'm nervous.
There's no hamper to it.
But I've had my water for the segment.
And there's sadly no hamper.
It is so tricky, yaar. Like I am just suddenly feeling that मैं अपने guest को इतना gruel करती हूँ with this one word answer in a word that we do, and I'm like, damn, it's difficult to be on the other side. But go on.
I mean, I'm keeping you honest. My first question on Water with Vineet is, what are the rules for a successful brand collaboration with a momfluencer or a parentfluencer today?
What are the rules? Actually, can I say there are no rules? There are just long and long lists that they need to do. There are no rules, but they're just a really long list to abide by.
And what do these lists sort of comprise of?
Just everything, right? Do this. It just goes on. Right? And,
like lists from brands. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Was that the question? Did I get that right?
No, I'm going to take this question again.
Yeah, sorry, I messed up.
No, it's totally all right. I will change the question actually. Let's start with, who are 3 parentfluencers who are doing really well in your book?
Oh, this one's a tricky one. So I really like the content of, there's, and a lot of them are international actually. There's somebody called Hey Mama, and they're a network of moms who are coming together for business. I like their content. I love Raised Good. They again are extremely authentic. And I think the third one would probably be, I don't know, maybe I don't have a third, but these 2 for sure are super.
So Hey Mama and Raised Good.
Yeah.
My next question on Water with Vineet is, what are the 3 most hot button problem areas that parents in 2021 are facing, especially in the lockdown?
Screen time, aggression and anxiety, and parental burnout.
Wow. I mean, all of those sound like problems that didn't exist 5 years ago, or at least existed in like very small percentage 5 years ago. 5 years ago, parents were like, my kid is not going out to play, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Or it would be kha nahi raha hai, bachcha kha nahi raha hai, what should I do? Or, things like that, or working, but parental burnout is huge.
Right. My last question to you, and this is slightly more open-ended than the previous 2, is, in your experience now doing this 8 years as an entrepreneur, a little longer than that as a parent. How have Indian parents' expectations from their kids changed as they grow?
This cannot be in a word, huh? Because
No, it's not
the
in a word at all.
expectations are so long. I'm telling you, everybody wants Einstein in their house. Everybody wants a child I can put on social media. Everybody thinks their child is a trophy value. So I think tremendous amount of pressure on the kids, just tremendous. Also, we need to understand that opportunities have increased and so has competition. Right? And therefore, our children all seem like clones of each other. And therefore, the ability to differentiate and make someone stand out is so much more, and therefore added pressure on the child. So I would say parents have way too many expectations from their children today. It's unreal. It's unreal.
Well, you weren't kidding when you said you'll say it like it is. From what I've seen in my limited experience, I think that's absolutely right. My last question actually is, if you weren't podcasting about being a parent or podcasting about parenting, what would you podcast about?
Women in business.
Right.
It's a topic really, really close to my heart for the simple reason that women are, our representation is really, really tiny. Second is we're always, to a large extent, self-doubting or whatever. Mm-hmm. Plus, I think, or it could be women in business or, women, working women or doing something, most definitely, and how one can manage to continue to do that, because I feel that the pandemic's anyways brought our percentage of women working in the workforce down from 24 to 12. And our parents and the generation before have done so much work on getting us to this space of, achieving that board seat, right? And I feel like we've regressed so much just in this pandemic. So I feel like to get more and more women back into the workforce, that would be most definitely my favorite topic. And maybe health and nutrition. I'm extremely passionate about health, nutrition, wellness. So I think somewhere between these two, I would have figured out something.
Love it. I think it's a super thought through alternative podcast. And I think the moment you have a little bit more time...
Is IVM listening? Check.
I will send a message to Kavita Rajwade immediately. But super thought through, man. I think the moment you have a little bit more time, you should definitely get into that Women in Business podcast. To be honest, and I'm just going to say this on air because I can. I know that Kavita's been planning to do a Women in Business podcast or a business podcast for a while. She just did this business wars thing. So you should definitely do something. Vishal, get on it, bro. That's it. I had a blast talking to you about parenting. I don't have the first clue about being a parent. Never considered
it. You never will, dude.
I'm pretty sure.
Don't try too hard.
Really sure. But it was an absolute blast hearing you talk about your journey with being a parent and being a business owner in the parenting space. So much to learn from how you've gone about building Kidsstoppress over the past 8 years. And I'm sure so much more success to come for you in the future. And what a great testimonial to podcasting, right? That someone who's done it all, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, whether it's text content and listicles and everything, finds their content creation love in podcasting and is now doing 4 of them. Thank you so much for being on the show, Mansi.
Thank you so much. I'm just so happy it's ended. I can now switch on the fan.
Oh, shit. Wow. That is
I was like, oh my God, I could do this.
Okay, that is some parenting level endurance.
yeah, totally. But no, seriously, this was incredible. And thank you, Vishal, for thinking of me. What a lovely chat I had with Vineet. So thank you so much for doing this.
Wonderful. That's it from me on this episode of Storytellers and Storysellers. We're in the middle of Podcasters Month. If you like what you're hearing, tell me about it on social media. I'm at Ashcharya Fuck It on Instagram or Twitter, or you can just write to IVM Podcasts.
Seriously, that's your Instagram handle?
That's my Instagram handle, Ashcharya Fuck It. It's Ashcharya Chuck It.
I can't even repost his stories, guys.
I'm sorry. Parents all over the world, don't hate me. I'm just too creative for my own good.
We swear as parents. We're quite realistic about it.
हम cool parents हैं.
Cool तो पता नहीं हम real हैं तो
Bilkul, 100%.
We swear,
Real
we
is cool,
swear.
no?
Parents swear.
Yeah,
My
that's where we're
daughter's
at,
not
right?
listening.
Soon. Nothing is hidden from them. They know the truth as well. But yeah, that's it. Vineet Kanabar saying goodbye.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro,
And me, Farhad.
on our show Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
And sometimes downright scandalous.
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.
From uncensored and unfiltered chats with the who's who of the entertainment industry, I, Siddharth Kannan, bring your very heartcake chat show called Candid Kannan. Tune in every Friday on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.